trapping the couple and forcing an emergency evacuation.
But it was pure adrenaline. I was, you're panicking. The water's coming up fast and it's cold. It's cold.
We're like chalk and cheese, aren't we? Because I just bumble around. I've been through a few weird things in my past, and I just now think, okay, how the heck are we going to deal with it? Let's crack on.
After noticing rising river levels early Thursday, Tayak and Masters were alerted by the RCMP that a helicopter evacuation was necessary. The couple managed to save their dogs and a few belongings before being airlifted, though they were forced to abandon their livestock, including sheep, chickens, and ducks. The ice jam broke later that night, causing the water to recede immediately. Upon returning home, Tayak and Masters expressed their gratitude to the RCMP for the timely rescue.
We honestly cannot give enough praise to.
Yeah.
They're absolutely so professional, so helpful, so kind.
Yeah, they went above and beyond their call of duty on that.
Yeah, they were brilliant.
Tayak and Masters report that all of their livestock survived the flood. The couple told CBC News that history repeated itself on the island. The previous residents were also evacuated for flooding on May 7th, 1998, exactly 28 years earlier. Complete the census or face a fine. That's the message as the 2026 deadline arrives. In the north, an accurate count is a lifeline for community funding. But some say this year's questions go too far. David Thurton reports on the tension between needing to be counted and wanting to stay private.
5 years ago, many Canadians were working from home because of the pandemic and filling out our census. Now it's that time again.
Did you fill out the census?
I did not.
I got the short form.
Tuesday is Census Day, when Statistics Canada wants the questionnaire completed.
Obviously, a very important operation, one that's key to our democracy, in fact.
About 75% of households receive the short form census, with 25% asked to fill out a longer version. And for the first time, questions on sexual orientation, general health, and whether anyone in the household has experienced homelessness. Some have taken to social media complaining about how long it took. Others...
Is it just me, or is anyone else upset that they got the short version of the census this year?
But some who did get the long form...
I think it took us about a half hour to 45 minutes.
...say they understand. Hospitals, libraries, and school boards in their community depend on it.
If I'm a geek, you can call me a geek on it. We were happy to do it.
For others, handing over all that detail makes them nervous.
It's definitely invasive. Like, these are not questions I would feel, comfortable responding to.
Statistics Canada says data submitted online gets encrypted.
There have been some very small, minor losses of paper questionnaires in the past, never electronic questionnaires. So we always encourage people to respond online. That is the safest and most secure way for Canadians to provide us with their census information.
Filling out the census is mandatory by law, and while Stats Canada says Tuesday isn't a firm deadline, it will start sending out warnings to those who haven't completed it that they could face a fine of up to $500. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
The federal NDP is taking aim at the government's priorities in the north. While the party's new leader, Avi Lewis, was unavailable for an interview, Northern critic Leah Gazan says Prime Minister Mark Carney is choosing military spending over human rights.
Well, he's putting all of this money in defense at a time of affordability crisis. He's failed to invest in the human rights of the people in northern communities across Canada.
The Prime Minister's office is defending its $35 billion plan to upgrade northern bases and airports, arguing that better transportation is the only way to lower the cost of living. But Gazan argues those billions should be redirected into immediate relief, like housing and publicly owned grocery stores. CBC News also reached out to the Conservative Party for its stance on northern spending, but did not receive a response. The Yukon Legislative Assembly's spring sitting has officially come to a close, but not without some major movement on the territory's biggest files. While MLAs successfully passed the new operating budget, the last 2 months have been dominated by a heated debate over the proposed health authority. TJ Deere reports.
For months, the governing Yukon party announced they would repeal the Health Authority Act. The plan was to repeal it in the fall, but at Friday's Yukon Forum in Teslin, a change of plans. YG will not repeal the act as planned after consulting with Yukon First Nations chiefs. The premier said chiefs would only engage with the government if they didn't proceed with their plan.
We agreed that that's a fair course of action, that we would remove that as a sort of the sword of Damocles hanging over our heads and remove the pressure that comes with the possibility of the repeal, and that was welcomed, I think, by leadership.
Dixon said this will allow the government to meaningfully engage with Yukon First Nations over the future of Shokwa'a and territorial health care more broadly. But the leader of the opposition believes that the governing party didn't anticipate the immense blowback. She says that should be a concern for Yukoners.
That is not a good indication going forward, especially when we look at everything that's required for the territory to be successful. Nothing can happen without with real meaningful partnerships with Yukon First Nations. And in their first big act, they told Yukon First Nations that they didn't matter.
Regarding the Whitehorse Emergency Shelter, White says the Yukon party repeated its playbook of not consulting with relevant stakeholders.
You built this shelter in this spot without ever having conversations with community. And now you pretend like it just happened on its own and that you have no responsibility for it.
Along with Shokwa'a, the government's finances don't add up for the lone Liberal MLA. She has an issue with the cuts outlined in the operating budget, which passed because everyone voted along party lines.
They chose education and they chose programming for children, and that really bothered me because, we're here to work for the next generations.
The next chance opposition MLAs like White and Raiti will have to question the government is the first week of October. That's when the fall sitting of the legislature is scheduled. TJ Deere, CBC News, Whitehorse.
We've been following the beaver invasion across the Arctic, detailing how these ecosystem engineers are rapidly expanding. As Tori Fitzpatrick explains, they're also redrawing the map in the Yukon's North Slope by flooding the tundra and altering fish habitats.
These bite marks and gnawed tree trunks are signs of beaver. When beavers cut down trees and build dams, they alter ecosystems. Here in Whitehorse, beavers are common, but hundreds of kilometers north of here on the Yukon's North Slope, beavers were once a rarity. Now, that's changing. As the climate warms, more shrubs are growing in the Arctic, and beavers are following.
Beavers are a species that probably would do well with the shrubbier Arctic because the increase in shrubs, species like willows and alders, provide food and building materials for beaver.
A recent study has shed light on some of the ways beavers alter the Arctic landscape. It mapped changes in the Inuvialuit settlement region in the Northwest Territories.
Not only are they moving into an environment that is changing rapidly, but they are then obviously adding to that change with how they change the landscape by cutting down woody plants and creating their dams and their lodges. So it's a real dramatic indicator of the changes that are happening more widely.
Before scientists were studying these changes, the Inuvialuit were already grappling with the beaver's arrival. They partnered with scientists for this study.
There was also a lot coming up around people being concerned about travel, people being concerned about winter conditions for travel as well as rivers being blocked by dams.
The Inuvialuit are continuing to work with scientists to document just how much beavers are changing the Arctic. Tori Fitzpatrick, CBC News, Whitehorse.
On Monday, we first reported that a Yukon couple was aboard a Dutch cruise ship, now at the center of a Hantavirus outbreak. They're currently isolating in BC. Since then, the situation has escalated in the Netherlands.
So far, 11 cases have been reported, including 3 deaths. All 11 cases are among passengers or crew on the ship. 9 of the 11 have been confirmed as Hantavirus, and the other 2 are probable.
12 staff members at a Dutch hospital are in quarantine for 6 weeks as a preventative measure after a protocol breach involving a Hantavirus patient. It's the latest in a string of efforts to contain the virus following a deadly outbreak on a cruise ship earlier this month. The World Health Organization has now increased the number of confirmed Hantavirus cases to 9. The Global Health Agency said more cases could appear because of the long incubation period. Here at home, no Canadians have tested positive or shown symptoms. The Canadian Coast Guard welcomed a new ship into its fleet today. The ship bears the name of Inuk Elder Naluk Napaluk from Nunavik.
I'm so happy. It's really surprised, and it's really touchy for my heart. I want to say thank you, the one who was decided, and I hope this ship will help us to know more about environment, because the environment, it's not easy to be survived, especially away up north.
That's daughter Gilak, who broke a champagne bottle over the bow of the CCGS Naluk Napaluk in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, to officially name the ship. The Canadian government chose the name after talking with Inuit Tapirit Kanatami to show their commitment to working with Indigenous peoples. Now the largest science ship in the federal fleet, it'll carry 34 crew members and 26 scientists for research missions on the East Coast. For generations, Inuit have read the ice and the sky, but today, the signs are changing faster than science can keep up. Driven by local warnings of intensifying storms, a new partnership is racing to predict the future of the North's shifting coastlines. Tharsha Ravichakravarthi explains.
If I go out, will I be able to come back safely in the summertime? Because now it's very difficult to predict, more difficult to predict the swells.
Marty Koloktok is the ASAO for the hamlet of Grise Fjord. He and other community members have noticed erosion, stronger waves, and flooding along the shoreline for years. He says there is less predictable travel along the coastline, especially during the summer. Those observations guided the research to measure wavelengths in Grise Fjord and expanded data collection to Kugluktuk and Cambridge Bay. David Didier is a professor of geography at the University of Quebec at Rimouski. He says less sea ice means stronger waves.
If you have less sea ice, let's say offshore, there's going to be a longer fetch, so a longer area where the wind can blow and create waves. This is going to create more higher waves and potentially longer waves offshore in deep water.
Didier says coastal erosion damages trails and the infrastructure that communities rely on. That reality is something Marty already experiences. The beach is deteriorating, and so is the smooth terrain where boats would usually park.
The coast and the waves and the rain and snow have eroded the beach, and to a point that we are not using the same procedures as before.
Didier says the information collected through the project is openly available to help other researchers and northern community members plan for future coastal adaptation. For CBC News, I'm Tharsha Ravichakravarthi.
The hamlet of Cambridge Bay, Nunavut, is celebrating its 50th annual Umingmak Frolics Festival. A wide range of events are planned all week, including snowmobile races. Joshua Muse has been a long-time Frolics volunteer, and this year he's coordinating the spring festival for the first time. The CBC's Lawrence Nayali spoke with him yesterday. Take a look.
We tried to make it as special as possible, knowing that it's the 50th anniversary. With the original Frolics being in 1976. So we tried to incorporate, not really incorporate, but get elements of different Frolics throughout the past. We were trying to get pictures, we were trying to get the original Frolics Committee board members find out more about Frolics history, who's been involved in Frolics over the years, who's gone above and beyond for Frolics over the last 50 years, just trying to honor as much as possible the original board members and the original people who started Frolics, because Frolics started here and then other communities adopted it from there.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So you went down a rabbit hole of all of this. So what were some of the surprising things that you learned on that journey?
Just how many people have been involved in the past, from numerous amounts of volunteers and sponsors and funders that have contributed to what we know as Frolics today. So corporate challenge, races, just how adding something different or doing something different every year has kind of shaped and molded what Frolics has become today.
The Frolics is a way of bringing in the spring. What does spring look like in this community for you?
It's a time that the community really comes together. I think, and the feast, I think, really showed that. You had elders and you had kids and you had a bunch of different age groups. You had people from down south all sat around a cardboard on the floor eating traditional food. You had communion and gathering, and I think it's just very important for the community because it is a time of togetherness. It's time of togetherness where you can get outside. It's starting to get warm again. It's no longer minus 40, minus 50, and this year minus 60, all of February basically. So it's really a good time that we can start coming out of the house and we can start celebrating the fact that it's about to be warmer. People are going to their cabins and people are coming together as a community, and I think that's really important.
It's so fun. Love a spring festival. From Norman Wells to the neon runways of Japan, a group of NWT teens is trading small town life for Tokyo Fashion Week. Alongside designer Dorothy Wright, the students will earn school credits while diving into the world of high fashion. Their adventure begins next month, and I caught up with Wright earlier today to hear how they're prepping for the trip of a lifetime. Dorothy, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So you're going to Japan for Fashion Week. Tell me how that opportunity came about.
Yeah, I saw it posted a while ago, and I had reached out to the show, and I didn't hear back from them for quite some time. And I thought, oh well, maybe it wasn't meant to be. And then they reached out to me. I think it was about like 2 months ago, maybe, and they invited me to Japan. So I was like so excited, and yeah, that's how it kind of happened.
And I know that you're not going by yourself. You're bringing a whole group of people with you, including a group of youth from Norman Wells. So tell me the story about how they got involved.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm going to Japan. I really like traveling. I like taking my kids with me. And my daughter was a little upset, and I was trying to cheer her up. And I was like, well, why don't we bring one of your friends with us? And she was like, oh, that sounds good. And I was driving home on the winter road, and I started thinking about, how I could make it happen. And then I reached out to the school, and they were like, well, let's not make it a school trip, but maybe we can make it something to do with their textile program that they're in. And so it ended up snowballing into we're bringing, I think, 7 Indigenous youth with us that are taking this textile class, and they're using these hours towards getting their credits for it. And yeah, so that's what we're doing now.
Tell me how the youth, how yourself, how your kids have all been preparing for this massive, exciting trip.
Yeah, we've done a few fundraisers so far to kind of get the ball rolling, keep the momentum going. And then when I'm back home in Norman Wells, we're going to start getting things prepared. So all of the kids that are coming with me have taken my class before. So I teach traditional sewing classes all over the north and all over parts of Canada. And so all of the kids involved have taken my class in some form or another. And so we're going to get all of the stuff cut out. They're going to help me from basically from start to finish. So they're going to cut out all the parkas or covers that we're going to be showcasing. They're going to help me assemble. We're going to talk about like sizing and, style and hair and makeup and that kind of thing. And we're also going to like document it, so photographs and videos. And I have a friend in Yellowknife. She's a photographer, and she's going to help with like teaching them about photography and like that kind of thing. So when we get there, they're going to be documenting it as well. And like I said, from start to finish, they're going to be involved in every aspect. And I think it's really cool. So at the end, they're not going to be able to be backstage with me because there's not a whole lot of room, but they're going to be able to be sitting in the seats at the fashion show.
And you mentioned that you'd been fundraising, but tell me how everyone's paying for this trip.
Well, I did have some people helping at the beginning. It's kind of going a little bit slow right now. And right now, like I'm trying to do this huge fundraiser to be able to pay for most of this trip. Otherwise, I'm basically paying for it. But we did a few fundraisers last weekend with in Norman Wells. We're doing another one this weekend, and I'm doing a huge one. It's kind of like a parka making class, for like a private parka making class with me, for you and 9 of your friends, and hopefully we sell out, and then that way it could actually happen.
I mean, this is such a significant opportunity for the kids involved, and it sounds like it's a very wholesome kind of program that you're doing, because it's not only the textiles, but it's the other realities of being a designer in terms of the photography, the organization.
Mm-hmm.
What have they been telling you about how they're feeling ahead of this?
I think a lot of them are like, right now is just pure excitement. I think they're just like so excited to go and be involved in this type of thing. I'm sure they're going to be nervous once we get either get to say like on the plane, and like because it's so long to get there, and then once we're there, it's going to be such a culture shock too, because it's like so fast and busy in Tokyo, right? So I think it's going to be a little nerve-wracking for them, but I think they're all going to be really excited once we get there and kind of get settled in.
Tell me about the schedule when you do get to Japan.
I think the first day or so, we're just not going to be doing too much because jet lag. And I think what we're going to do is kind of take them out on different like outings. I guess I'd say we're going to do some photo shoots, and then we're going to try to do Mount Fuji and Disney and take a bullet train somewhere. Just those kind of touristy things. And then we have a photo shoot and fittings with all of the models. And then the day of the show, it's going to be quite busy, and just kind of get situated there and maybe get them all dressed up, and they can sit in the seats and watch the show from there.
Well, I can't wait to see the photos and the videos from the trip. I hope everyone has a really good time, and I really appreciate you telling me all about it today, Dorothy. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Megan.
And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. We leave you this evening with some images from the Umingmak Frolics in Cambridge Bay. The more than 50-year-old celebration features a week-long corporate challenge and a favorite for the fans, the Umingmak Snowmobile Races. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night.